Of monsters. Art Bell.
Objective, is it? Is evil subjective? I never thought so. I thought evil was a real, tangible thing. But I can understand that those who are involved in it, if taking of the essence of another makes you more powerful or immortal, then from his point of view, it is a subjective thing. So he wouldn't likely call it or event. A vampire would not likely call it evil, would they? Interesting. All right, listen, my wife, having had a nap, is now up on the internet trying to help me in my search for a vampire. And so actually she's on AOL in the chat room. And here's the way you get there. You go on America Online, and she will be using my name. That's how you'll know it's her. She'll be using the name Art Bell. So you go on America Online, just go hit keyword at the top of the screen and type in Art Bell, ARTBELL. That'll take you, you'll see a little photograph of me, and then you'll see something that'll say the Grassy Knoll chat room. Check that, and you will go in there, and there she will be, and she will be searching for vampires in there. Meanwhile, we will continue searching for vampires. That last one that I had on had the ring of some truth to it. So the vampire line remains open at area code. What other radio show ever does anything like this? Area code 702-727-1222. Vampires only, real ones too. Now, east of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hey, Art, this is Robert New Orleans.
Hello, Robert.
How you doing?
That's Ann Rice country.
Yeah. Let me tell you something like some of these people calling themselves vampires. First, a vampire can't take the soul unless you're willing to give it to them.
I believe that's right, yes.
That's exactly true. If folklore is right.
Did you hear the man, though, who called earlier and said that he had been in a certain club there in New Orleans, as a matter of fact?
That's what I'm going to tell you about. I had my bachelor party there.
You did?
There were 25 of us who, in the condition we were in, could have took the soul if they wanted it.
In other words, if she'd been pretty enough, and she would have been after that many beers.
Oh, that's right, Bill. They could have just grabbed up and caught you up in a heartbeat.
You'd have taken one look at her, you'd have said, yes. And she'd have said, soul, and you'd have said, yes, sure.
It's not even 4 floors of the place. It's a little small place on a corner. It's not big enough to be something like that. A bunch of strange people hang out.
No, wait a minute. This is no rap on the place. This is simply where he met that person, that's all.
Well, I don't believe that for a heartbeat. I mean, I go down there, I live here, I go to the corner all the time.
So you're trying to tell me you do think it's a place?
No, it's not for vampires, it wouldn't be.
No.
They wouldn't put it on.
Well, yeah, but you see, a vampire really could be anywhere. A vampire could be on the internet, a vampire could be in a club, a vampire could be somebody you'd meet in the grocery store, for all I know.
No, this is voodoo country. Vampire,
I know it is.
Like in our voodoo.
I know it is. Yeah.
We're protected by that, all the greenery around the place, supposedly. Now, this is where zombies come from, where people are put under spells to do certain things. Not really for.
Do you believe that about New Orleans? I mean, is it that mystical a place?
It is to some people. A lot of people want to believe that. It draws a lot of tourists because of it.
Well, then, I mean, but do you believe it? It's not like it used to be.
No, now it's just a real big party town. And we're waiting for you to come here.
Well, I'm going to be doing that.
You said you could come down from Mardi Gras one of these years. You got
and I'm going to. Yes, I'm going to. But you need to understand, they chain me here. I'm chained to my chair.
Well, one day I'm going to come out that way when I'm heading back to Hawaii to visit some relatives, and we're going to stop by around your area.
Then I also believe that when I die, they are going to lop off my head using new technology, mount me in a box, put me in front of a microphone, and make me talk forever. Thanks for the call, sir.
All right.
First time caller line? No. Vampire line. You're on the air.
Oh, or I could take listening to those ones that were saying that they were vampires. I don't know what they are, but where was the blood?
Are you a vampire?
I was. I gave it up.
Well,
I would
so
say
you're
that
a former vampire?
I would say that on a serious level, I probably still am, but I'm
Well, all right.
not.
All right. After you didn't like what I said, let's hear what you got to say. What is a vampire?
Is
Are you a seducer?
no, it's not about sex. It's not about sex.
Well, no, but a seduction is required for a, at least as I understand it. I read this thing on the internet, and she promised sex, but used that only to seduce him into saying he would give up his soul.
The seduction business. No, that's like somebody else that knew more mentioned the incubus.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an entirely different level of being.
Well, what is
a vampire wants flesh, but all this happens on the astral plane.
All right, slow up. Did you actually?
I have had blood on this plane, yes, and I've had blood, a lot of blood on the astral plane.
Human blood?
Oh, yes.
And what is it that it does?
What does the blood do? Well, it's on the astral plane, it's like flying out to the stars.
All right, forget the astral plane, because I don't know.
That's where it starts, but eventually it starts to bleed through. I mean, you just get taken over. You realize that you've got to do it in the physical, and that's what you start seeking.
Yes, I understand. And so then you actually seek out people. I mean,
yes, and the cowards, I don't call myself a coward, but the more timid amongst us will do it by asking and finding people that want to give their blood. But there are those that enjoy taking it by force.
Now, how many? All right, let me stop you there. There's a lot of jokes about guys who go up to women on the street, and say, hey, let's have sex, right? Usually it gets them a slap in the face. I would think going up to somebody, or even in a social circumstance, and saying something like, hey, how about a little blood? Just wouldn't go over. I mean, how do you get somebody to agree to that?
Well, there's like a mutual attraction, or on some level you can see you can sense who's into that.
So then there is an element. You say not seduction, but
it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I understand, but it's a kind of a seduction, though, isn't it?
I wouldn't call it a seduction. Some people are just out there wanting to give their blood, but I've also had blood from people that didn't know that I'm a nurse. So I was, it's sort of an optimal place to get fresh blood.
Oh my goodness. I hadn't thought of that aspect of it. In other words,
oh, yes, there's many ways when you get desperate.
In other words, if you're really in need, you just order up a pint of whole. Typo, whatever.
I wouldn't order it up, I would get it.
Oh,
yeah.
And, all right.
Obviously, I won't.
This is amazing. I wouldn't do that.
There's a lot of vampires in the healthcare field. There's a lot of vampires who are grave shift, so third shift, grave shift, whatever you want to call it.
I never thought of it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in movies about vampires, they will show vampires going out and, let's say, I think I saw the Anne Rice movie, Interview with a Vampire, and really the vampire didn't want to kill people. So the vampire would go out and first take the blood of rats, take the blood of animals, small animals, that kind of thing. But inevitably was drawn to human blood.
Yeah, I've never had animal blood.
You started off mainlining humans, huh?
Yeah, human blood.
And what do you think that you gained from that, and what did you lose?
Well, it's like a form of nourishment, it really is. And it came to the point where I felt like the only thing I wanted to live on was blood. I could hardly stand to eat food.
Wow. And for how long in your life did this go on?
No, it's been a couple years. Yeah. Intensely, no more than 5.
5 years.
And, but you know what, the AIDS thing, that really put a cramp in my style. That was
A lot
That
of
was
people
kind of the beginning of the end. That's when I just started to get, it became so difficult.
No, I'm not really certain about this. I was a medic in the Air Force, but the ingestion of blood is not the same, or is it, as the commingling of blood, which is required to transmit the AIDS virus? Or is it possible that if you were to consume blood with the AIDS virus, as it passed through your digestive system, it would infect you? Do you know?
I can take the chance because here's the thing. What about your mouth where you could have
Small cuts.
a gum problem, you
That's
could
true.
have a sore in your mouth, you could have bit your tongue. You could have a million little openings.
It's true.
And I personally am very cautious with AIDS and don't believe too much of what the CDC says. Speaking of AIDS, not to not to get off the vampire thing, but
Well, no, I think it's very important because
it is.
I would think that it really would have put a cramp in the style of a lot of vampires.
It has. I mean, I personally know one that died from AIDS.
A vampire.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, she used to just cover the walls in blood, so it's not surprising.
Is there?
It's not vampires on a physical plane. There are people that actually they kill people.
I understand. Now across America, there is this thing going on with animal mutilations, with the blood removed from animals. All kinds of horrible, strange things going on. Could it be satanic cults, vampires?
I don't know. Vampires aren't satanic.
They're not satanic.
They're not consciously satanic. No, it has nothing to do with devil worship. It never did for me. But there is. I think you need to get back to the astral. I know that you've had some talk on the show also of astral traveling and so forth. I feel that unless you're doing it sort of in a prayer mode, or you're kind of really aligned up with whatever, however you worship God,
Yeah.
you're in great danger. This is
Well, after listening to you, I feel in great danger. Listen, I've got to go. Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. Well, there you go.
Call Art Bell toll free west of the Rockies at 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255. East of the Rockies at 1-800-825-5033. 1-800-825-5033. This is the CBC Radio Network.
The stock market yesterday very nearly sucking the vital juices from many investors. The day before, definitely doing so. Volatile. Boris Yeltsin, looking like his vital juices are not exactly at a high point. Vice President says they are. But you gotta wonder about his vital juices altogether. Everybody else, the reporters who saw Yeltsin, think that he looks kind of pale. Perhaps drained. Actually, heart trouble. Otherwise, there is not a lot in the news. After all, I guess. Everybody's wondering about his vital juices. Otherwise, believe it or not, we have for the last couple of hours been talking vampires. I was asked yesterday to reread a fax I had received from somebody who was on the internet. Vampire facts, which I did. Then somebody faxed me and said, open the vampire line, and you know me. So I opened the vampire line. I just finished talking to a nurse who admitted she was a vampire for 5 years. she drank blood, and she had a ready supply of blood, and she also took it from people who volunteered to give it. So we've been talking about the nature of vampires a bit. It's been actually very interesting. Right now, my wife is entertaining those with the guts to go up into America Online's chat room. She's up using my name. That's how you'll know it's Ramona, because she's using my logon, my phone. And if you want to go in and say hello, you may do so. Simply go to America Online, hit keyword up there, and type in Art Bell. And you'll go to this little area where you'll see my photograph, and then check on the grassy knoll. Just check or click on grassy knoll, and you'll be in that chat room. There she will be. Now to my vampire line. You are on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Good morning.
Before we start, I'd like to say one thing. After 15 years of Coast to Coast, it's about time you got around to us.
Well, I know. It is one of those things that I don't know how I've overlooked you suckers. But apparently I have, and that is now over. As you can see, this morning we're doing vampires, and so tell us about it. You claim you are a vampire, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's hear your story.
Well, I became a vampire on June 8th, 1966. I was approximately 25 years old at the time. I was seduced by a female, and ever since then I have had to survive off of feeding off of other people.
All right. Without giving me the no doubt titillating details of the seduction, would it be fair to say that she traded herself to you for your soul?
Yeah, that would be a fair estimate.
I mean, was there actually, were you bitten? I don't even know, biting is the right word. I don't even know if that physical act occurs. Now, you heard the nurse before this hour. She said she drank blood.
Yes, the drinking blood part is optional. It depends on how you get your nourishment. You can feed off of blood, souls, or emotions.
Blood, souls, or emotions. So you can literally take the essence, then, of another person.
Yes.
And what does that do for you? It nourishes you, it makes you stronger, it makes you immortal. What does it do?
It does all that. It gives you your nourishment, and it's addictive. You cannot get by without it.
I've heard that. There have been strange, obscure stories in the news. There was a story, for example, about a wife who I think was killed by her husband, who had seen a movie about vampirism and actually drank his wife's blood.
That's entirely possible. Some people get into it just because of a mental state or implanted thought. Others have no choice.
Don't you think that what you're doing, do you regard what you're doing as evil?
I suppose that all depends on which part of it you take. If you actually take a life, or if you deprive somebody of their soul, yes, I consider it evil.
And if you feed on their emotions, if you feed on their being, that is not evil?
I suppose it could be considered evil, but you leave them whole also.
All right, back on June 8th, 1966, did this woman tell you what she was doing?
In a roundabout way, yes. She did not come right out and say it.
Then how do you know it happened?
Afterwards, it was brought to my attention rather abruptly.
Are you then compelled?
Yes, you are. Like I said, you have no choice. You become addicted. And you have to feed it.
I appreciate your call. Thank you. All right, there's another one. You know, there have been novels written and rights. We will do this subject on Greenland coming up this Sunday. I am never disappointed in its findings. I mean, if you stick with it long enough, you're going to get the real thing. I mean, if there is really such a thing as vampires, and whether there is or not, it seems like an awful lot of people believe that there is, and that they are such a thing. That's it. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art Bell.
Yes, sir.
This is Steve from Franklin, Kentucky.
Franklin, Kentucky.
Yeah, about 35 miles north of Nashville.
All right. Did you hear the story I read?
Yes, I did.
Have you guys been hearing anything about that locally?
I heard about it, I think it was Sunday on the news.
So there is something to it.
Yeah.
Okay, are the details that I had roughly correct? A man claiming he was outside, an alien or something like it, attacked him, ripped up his porch, bit his dog, and he's willing to take a lie detector test.
Well, he claims that Shirley said it left scratch marks on his porch and bit his dog twice.
Did they take a camera crew out there?
Yes.
Did you see it?
Well, I saw his dog. They showed two little marks on his dog where it looked like it had been. Maybe, I don't know. But that's what he's claiming. He also claimed that there was something above that was, I don't know, firing some kind of lasers or something at whatever was on the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, we've had a number of laser stories. There is a confirmed story in California the last few days of a sheriff and a driver of one of the big 18-wheelers that got hit with a laser, retinal damage, and burns.
Yeah, I heard that the other night on your show.
What the hell's going on?
I don't know.
All right, well, listen, I appreciate the confirmation, sir, and I thank you for the call. On my vampire line, you're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bill.
Good morning.
You wanted to speak to a vampire?
That's right.
A real one.
That's correct.
You're talking to one. Name's Peter. I have been a vampire since October 21st, 1927.
Wait a minute. October 21st, 1927?
Exactly.
You're then obviously immortal?
Exactly.
How did you become a vampire?
I was brought into this world by my master. His name was Gregory. He took me on that day after I surrendered my soul to him.
You know what I'm curious about? How did Gregory talk you into it?
I had just lost my love to another man. In anger, he came to me and gave me an option. And I took it.
You were or are homosexual?
No.
You had lost your love. I'm sorry, a woman
Yes.
to another man.
Yes.
You were angry,
Mm-hmm.
and this man offered you what?
A chance for revenge and immortality. And I was willing to surrender my soul for it.
Revenge and immortality. Revenge in what form?
I took them both.
You did.
Yes, I did.
Killed them?
Exactly.
By taking their blood.
As much as I could.
Apparently sufficient.
Yes.
And you have been about since 1927.
Yes.
How old were you in 1927?
I was 25.
25. And has the process of aging within you ceased?
Yes, exactly. I'm the same age I was since then.
That's absolutely amazing. Do you have regrets? Are you sorry? Is it a terrible existence?
Why would I have any regrets?
I'm just asking.
For trading my soul? What a puny thing to lose when there's no more right or wrong. There's no more conscience. Nothing can stop you. Take what you want. And there's nothing there to stop you. Why would it have any regrets?
When did right and wrong stop?
Since that day.
For you?
Yes.
Well, I suppose there's a lot of ways of looking at it. You claim you are immortal, and yet the world someday will end, physically end. At that point, wouldn't you be a bit of a lost soul?
Well, yes, you can look at it that way, but how do you know it's going to ever end?
Well, you don't. So from your point of view, no right, no wrong, you just take what you need.
Exactly.
And I'm curious, now, what is it you need to sustain yourself in this immortality?
The blood of a living person.
And how frequently is that needed?
I can do it once every 2 weeks. If I'm really in the mood, maybe 3 times a week.
What about the law? I mean, do you not fear being caught in the act?
No. Never have ended. That's one of the things you do. There is nothing to fear now. There is nothing to fear.
Once the soul is gone and lost, is it, as we understand it, evil?
Evil.
Yeah.
You see, so many people, what is good and evil? Just because you're not like me, you're good?
No, it was a question, not a statement with regard.
Well, no. Well, here's what I'm trying to get at. Good. Doesn't a normal man kill? For his food?
Yes.
For his freedom?
Yes.
So what's evil?
Well,
You see it as black and white.
possibly the surrendering of one's soul is an evil thing. I don't know that for sure. I'm asking. I kind of feel it is.
Well, that's one interpretation of it, I guess. You can say that, okay, so I am evil. I'm evil.
Subjective.
Yes, exactly. Now, among my brethren, we don't see anything evil about it.
I understand. Have you brought others into this same situation?
A few. Some that I feel are worthy.
Worthy.
Yeah. Some aren't.
What would make a person worthy of receiving this this gift from you?
I'll give you an example. We had one that we brought across, and eventually his conscience got to him. Okay?
Yeah.
That's a mistake. We can't have that. Once you decide to come across, you have to abandon everything.
Are there many like you?
There's more than you would believe. They could be your next door neighbor. They could be a cop driving a police car.
I appreciate your call, Peter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much for taking my call. Sure. Thanks for making it. Where are you? I am west of the Rockies. My name is Jonathan, and I do not know how much time I have. So if I have the conversation, I'll take it personally. I'll treat it that way. None of us know how much time we have, Jonathan. I used to work for the government agency. The most interesting part of your story. When I was withdrawals, won't put it that way. The person involved themselves becomes a vampire. No, when you become a vampire, you must be brought to the point of death. You must be drained from your body. You must let inject the blood of a vampire. Well, no, but we need to discuss spiritually, you have to read. That's what you need to do. What work like our agent is Right now, your papers talk about repressed memory syndrome. I believe I have a repressed memory syndrome. I can remember several details of being indoctrinated. But since then, much of it's a blur. I hear you smoke. You have a compulsion to smoke, is that correct?
Yes.
My compulsion is similar to yours. You cannot go without a cigarette for a day or so. I cannot go without a life force or nourishment for longer than 24 hours. The longer I live, the worse it becomes. I can tell you what it's like in detail, how the life force is taking. Would you be interested?
Go ahead.
I will tell you one thing. Once you spill the blood, once you've tasted the blood, and I'm calling it blood right now because that is what your folklore and your history has provided. I have the soul. You become that person. You take that soul. Now.
And that nourishes you, feeds you?
No, it doesn't. It keeps me from doing it again within 24 hours or however the time span is. Now, I don't have much time here. I'm very ill.
All right.
I'm very ill.
I will let you go to whatever it is you're going to do. That is an interesting description. That it is a compulsion, as other things are compulsions. You can do it. Something you have to do, something you have to repeat. Now I asked him, was it sustenance? Was it maintenance? And his answers just sort of seemed to be that it had to be, you had to do it. It was a compulsion to do it. An interesting answer and plausible. Back to the vampire line. You're on the air. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I'm not going to say that I was in it, and it is red evil.
You were a vampire.
Yeah. You have to give your soul to the devil to get into it. It's evil.
Well, I don't see how you get out of it. In other words, I don't see how there could be an ex-vampire. Once you're a vampire, you are a vampire. Once you've given up your soul, I don't think you can take it back.
But I think God's mercy is a lot stronger than the devil.
But you gave up your soul.
Yeah, but I think God don't hold it to you if you don't know what you're really doing. And you don't really realize what you're getting into.
What exactly did you do?
Well, you have to drink. Well, you don't have to drink blood, drink blood. It is all sexual. I mean, people do horrible things for sex. And,
That's true.
yeah. But they didn't say it wasn't. It is. It's all sex.
Were you seduced, or were you the seducer, or both?
I got into it because I wanted to kill someone that hurt me. And I knew I couldn't do it on my own. I knew the devil can help me. So that's how I got into it.
And did you kill that person?
No, I didn't. No.
How did you come to give up your soul?
I don't know. You just do it. You just tell the devil that whatever.
You say, devil, whatever?
No. I don't know. It's really horrible. It's horrible to go back into that. In fact, you're talking about it. You're opening up doors to things that you don't even realize that you're opening up to.
That's what I do for a living. I open doors.
But this is something not to even mess around with, though.
I'm not messing around with it. You did.
Yeah, I did. I know what it does. And it's not. A lot of people go into it for the game of it. It's not a game.
It's not a game.
No, it's not.
Well, one of the reasons that I opened this line was I wanted to find out if it was real.
Yeah, no.
That's what I thought. I really did think it was real. I mean, I started out with this facts, the internet business, but I really am coming to believe this is real. I thank you for the call. Art, vampires are not evil in the sense of funny it is. They're simply a product of their nature. They do consume blood. However, they do not need it nearly as much as is commonly needed. After they are, quote, embraced, end quote, which is the word used to describe what a human is taken and transformed into a vampire, they need to replace the blood, which was taken from them in the process almost immediately. However, after that, they only need, in fact, to feed every few days. And as months and years pass, they must feed less and less. The blood does not get digested and ejected as food does. It becomes transformed into vampire tissue and begins to harden and strengthen the organs. Eventually, the entire body will have been transformed and blood is no longer necessary. I do not know any individuals who have achieved it. Typically, in modern times, vampires mostly feed off the willing. They lure a following and feed off of them in small amounts to quench their thirst. However, there are vampires who are evil in nature and do enjoy the hunt. They are very good at the game and learn methods of avoiding authorities. Vampires cannot get AIDS. They're not human any longer. They cannot fall ill from disease, any disease that afflicts a man, and can only be killed through unique means. The only illness I've ever known to afflict a vampire is through a type of magic that hinders the flow of energy that night gives them. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Well, Gloriousy, I got through with you, Art. My name is Stuart. I'm in Oakland, Kansas, Low Country.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to do what I can do to help put the vampirism thing into a wider perspective, a wider context.
Sure.
I am biased. I'm an Anne Rice fan. And if you had a gift so precious, half the world will want to kill you, half to destroy you, the other half would give anything to have it. And yeah, give anything to have it. I gotta calm my heart here for a second.
Yes.
Would you want that? Would you want that to be common knowledge? I mean,
No, the answer is a clear no. You would not want that to be common knowledge. Thank you. But I'll tell you something. There are people willing to tell a story as long as a forum is given for it. Now, I know when we began the program this morning earlier, a lot of people went, oh, yeah, right, come on, sure. What a bunch of baloney. And then an hour went by, and fewer people were saying that. And then 2 hours went by, and people were going, oh, my God. Well, has it occurred to a lot of you out there that in this country we have, you want to call it the chupacabra, we've got a lot of dead animals. South of the border, thousands. There are missing children and missing people that nobody can and will account for. There are mutilations going on that some want to attribute to aliens. Well, if not aliens, then what? Vampires? No? You're sure? I'm not. Not at all. Listen carefully to what these people are saying. And, good morning on my vampire line. You're on the air. Hello. Goodbye. Wildcard line, you're on the air. East of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hi, Art.
Hello.
I'm from St. Paul.
Yes, sir.
I have an idea for you.
Okay.
Seems to be such a split in different kinds of vampires you're getting on your vampire line. I think you should have one of your debate between two vampires, one that thinks they need blood, the other that doesn't think they need blood, or the vampire that thinks it's good versus the vampire that thinks it's evil.
Well, I don't think any of them have said good. If I've divined anything so
So there are a
far.
couple that said that it's not evil, though.
Well, yeah, they said, what? There is no good evil. So I'm not sure that was set up to be a debate. I thought it was a good answer. Really, there is no good and evil. Once you've moved across that threshold, there is just what you do. No good, no evil. They just do it. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
To you?
Yeah, it makes sense.
It did to me too. All right. Well, we're going to break here at the top of the hour, and then maybe we'll do some more of this. Here it comes, because I need it.
Call Art Bell toll free. West of the Rockies at 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255. East of the Rockies at 1-800-825-5033. 1-800-825-5033. WTAC Radio Network.
Really scary stuff.
You know what? Because it begins to sound real, all too real. Now, back to my part of mine. You're on the air. Hello. Hi.
My name is Dale, and I'm from
Little Rock, Arkansas, the very center of the country.
So I have to be here only because I'm in insurance.
Okay.
I'm kind of a little upset with a lot of the callers who have been calling in because the mentioned group representing vampires or vampires. We're not a bunch of people that go around sucking blood and taking souls. We don't actually take the soul. We release it from the body. And if that person is chosen to do that, they're becoming born with that stuff.
You release, now let me get this straight. You release the soul from the body of, I'll use the word victim, just to use it so we can identify who we're talking about here.
Yeah, that's a glorification.
Glorification, all right. So the person affected, does that make you happy? You release the soul from that person, and that creates their immortality.
Well, not all individuals become vampires. They're either used for their blood or animals are used for their blood. There's different societies within the vampires
What is the purpose of the blood?
to maintain our life force. Because we are soulless as ourselves.
You are soulless.
To become immortal, you have to have some soul.
You give it up to
You give it up, you just let it go.
where?
It could go to either heaven or hell depending on your life before the time.
And what is the consciousness that you now have to be making this call? Without a soul, you say you have no soul. Then where, what is the, I'm not even to ask you.
Exactly like what you're thinking is what a lot of people are considering.
Are there many of you?
I'm not at liberty to say only because the numbers that we have would alarm us.
Well, all right. I think a lot of people are getting alarmed listening to this, and I can't blame them. I'm getting a little alarmed myself. I opened this up sort of half seriously, and I'm not sure I'm liking what I'm hearing.
Well, just to give you a little background, there are a lot of people that see the movies and reflect them as what vampires is, and that's not what it is. There's the original vampire is probably considered Nosferatu. Vampire, which is the ugly one. He's the oldest of us all. And then from there, we have the Gangrel, who were taken by the humans. And there are several others that have taken up business positions in the United States and the world. There are different society backgrounds, so they tend to work in those areas of life.
Do you take human blood?
No, I only take them.
How then do you maintain your immortality? Animals?
Yeah.
I
do not think it's right for a vampire to take a human life. And that's what it does. It actually doesn't take the life because the soul was not his.
I understand. All right, look, I appreciate that clarification. And there is one who claims to exist only on the blood of animals, and I understand that is possible. On my vampire line, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Joe.
Joe.
Yeah.
That's an old biblical name.
Yes. I do have another name actually. I like Joe.
All right.
Yeah, this is a cool idea.
All right.
Some of the older vampires,
Yes.
do have physical ailments.
Oh.
Such as heart attacks, mental illness.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought these things were more or less done away with, these mortal illnesses by the process of...
No, in fact, no. The body can die. And does die, but it also regenerates.
What do you mean?
Well,
you mean it dies and then regenerates? Or it regenerates?
It's a mathematical process. See, the body goes out of balance.
Before we get any further along here, are you a vampire?
Yeah.
You've got to be on this line. How long have you been a vampire?
75.
1975 or 75 years?
No, 1975.
And how were you initiated?
My parents, actually.
Your parents?
Yeah.
Mom and dad were vampires?
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. And so they, how old were you? I mean, it's not exactly like sitting someone down telling them
I was
Santa Claus, huh?
I was a baby.
You were a baby?
Yeah.
Boy, talk about something the social service agencies would. Anyway, so you're now how old?
I'm 21.
21. Will you age?
Yeah, well, yeah, a little bit. But I'll go back to, yeah. Well, I can assume pretty much any physical form that I wish, actually. It just takes time, yeah, actually. I could practically go back to being a baby, but
sort of a slow but sure metamorphosis into something, or into a different apparent human shape or an animal shape, or
no. Just within the genes that I have. Yeah.
So it would be a human shape.
Yeah.
And what about this business of blood?
I personally do not suck blood. I guess I would suck souls would be. Yeah. In fact, this is actually what I wanted to get to. I've actually had heart attacks. Anywhere. I have them anywhere, actually.
What would happen if you were to die? I mean, would it be a massive coronary? Well, I'm sure it's massive coronary.
It happens in increments, so to speak.
Well, we all die in increments.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate your call, but I'm not exactly sure that you're my kind of man. You sound more mortal to me than immortal. That is not to say that and I really do that. Vampires are supposed to be immortal, aren't they? Am I wrong about that? I don't think. On the first-time caller, no, the vampire line, you're on the
line. I've already called you before.
Not tonight, right?
No, not tonight. A long time ago. It took a lot of courage because I usually don't like to talk about what I am. But I can dispel a couple of myths for you.
Fire away. Take a bite out of it.
When a vampire is not initiated into being a vampire is born a vampire, period. The people that are initiated into it, all they really are hosts. In other words, they supply the blood for the true vampire.
Vampires do require blood.
I'm afraid so. There is a way to get around it, and often a vampire will be born this way and not realize it for quite some time.
By that time, they must be famished.
Well, there are, like I said, ways to get around it.
For example, well, we're listening.
For one thing, this is going to really inspire a lot of phone calls from other people who say they're vampires. But for one thing, diet, and oddly enough, the addition of iron does hold the disease at bay.
Now that's interesting. Iron, as in iron for blood.
That's correct. Are you still there?
Well,
I heard a clip. That's what I wanted.
Well, it probably just
I can tell you only this, and I'll try to make it brief.
right.
I did not know I was a vampire until I had minor surgery, which turned into major surgery. And then I had the blood transfusion, and when I came home, and the doctor notified me that he had to give me more blood than usual, I came home and I felt like I was on top of the world, and I couldn't understand why. And I can't explain the feeling.
It was the infusion.
It was the transfusion. And
but how did
I know?
How did you make the jump from that feeling of well-being or wellness?
Because I could have very well been addicted to the transfusion itself.
Listen, I have a break coming up. I have a newscast, but I would be more than willing to hold you over if you're capable of holding.
Oh, yeah.
You are? All right, this is very interesting. Stay where you are, and we'll be right back. And this will be our last vampire call of this show. What an interesting evening. This is CBC.
Call Art Bell, toll free. West of the Rockies at 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255. West of the Rockies at 1-800-825-5033. 1-800-825-5033. This is the CBC Radio Network.
It is strange as it is here at times. It's definitely that. What it is not is the same night after night after night. And now back to our, let's see, would you be a vampire or a vampiress?
Oh, either way.
Either way, huh? All right.
Yeah, either way you care to dress me because that is just an adjective. It's not a true description.
Okay.
I'll try to give you an example of something that existed in medieval times. Possession.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people were destroyed in the name of Christianity because they were supposedly possessed.
That's true.
But
My guess
in one case, they began to find out that there were certain epileptics that were declared possessed, and
right.
others that had the St. Vitus dance, and then they began to realize maybe there was no such thing as possession, quote unquote. These were medical conditions,
Yes.
which had not been addressed. And I feel that vampirism, while it's an adjective, that is really all it is. It might not be an accurate adjective of a medical condition.
Well, what exactly is it for you?
Okay, we were talking about the transfusion. The transfusion I had, and like that one fellow that called in and said it was addicting.
Yeah.
That's the way I felt after I had the transfusion. Like I was addicted to something because I felt so great. And when I mentioned it to my doctor when I saw him,
Yeah.
he got a very weird look in his face and did not want to stay in the same room with me. I was quite young.
I understand.
But then I realized what I was striving for.
I mean, you actually admitted this to your doctor.
Well, I just told him that I felt great after the transfusion, and I couldn't figure out why.
Were you eyeing his neck at the time?
No. What I think was in the back of my mind was to talk him into giving me another transfusion.
A little RX.
Yeah, and so he became nervous. I didn't realize why, and he left the room.
I understand.
Well, okay, now about 3 months later,
Right.
I went into convulsions. And I scared the holy heck out of my parents.
How old were you then?
I was in barely 20, I think.
20.
It was a long time ago. And so they called the doctor because they were there, visiting me
Yes.
at my house.
Yes.
And when he came in, I heard him talking, and he says, well, she must have had a reaction to the transfusion. And so I accepted that. I thought, yeah, that's what's wrong with me. And so he gave me some pain pills. He had not had me on pain pills before, but he had to then.
Right.
And I got over it, but it took a long time. But I never quite felt as good as I did on the transfusion.
So did you ever go out and...
No.
So you kicked the habit of...
I ordered my steaks rare and noticed I felt somewhat better, but not really like the transfusion, okay? It still didn't dawn on me why. Because I talked to a friend.
What I'm asking you now is, in all that time, to your present age, have you ever revisited the same feeling that you had?
I sometimes miss the feeling that I got with the transfusion, yes. I, began to slowly but surely realize, well, that must be a vampire. And it was not a blood mismatch like I had been talked into believing it was, because I wouldn't have felt so great after I had it.
But I mean, what I'm really asking you is, haven't you ever wanted to go out and acquire some...
No, I think that's a fetish. Now, there might be different kinds of vampires, too.
Well, now listen. All right. Well, listen. I've got to run, but I think that's right. You say it's a fetish. All right. A guy called earlier, and I thought his explanation was quite good. He said, "You smoke cigarettes, right?" I admitted it, of course. And he said, "You've got to have them, right? Can you go a day? 2 days?" He said, "The compulsion, once you've given into it, is exactly like that. You've got to have it. And another fellow is seemingly totally amoral. All right, well, that's it. There you have it. A bit of an exploration into the darkness. Indeed. The right hours to do that, huh?
On my I Made a Deal with the Devil line, you're on the air. Hello.